measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil, Eli, Click OK, Len, Christian, Wandek, Adam, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
What's north?
Good morning, Nathan.
How are you?
Welcome.
What's north? Man, Wayne from the Map Reading Company, you have sincerely made it into the lexicon of Flat Earth debate with your down being generally south and north generally being up. It's obviously tickled many of my panel, as it has me. I'm not going to lie. Very amusing. Ever has one fallen from such norminess to such anti-flat earthism so quickly? Curry night tonight. Maybe out talking to normies about flat earth, as that is the general gist of what happens on a Friday night. If it's not just myself and Craig out for a curry, that is. I'll regale you with any normie stories or interactions on Monday. But yeah. Another week. And a nice, easy week for me.
Another week without the book.
It'll be here when it's here, Neil. Don't you worry.
Just back to Wayne, though. I just stumbled across a little clip of him by accident, just flicking through YouTube, and I didn't watch it all. He had a compass in his hand, so I thought, oh, that'd be interesting. And his first few words out of his mouth was, and he was demonstrating it, holding it palm out, parallel to surface level, and explaining that you can use this for distance and directions horizontally. So he's changed his tune from last time I spoke to him.
Yes. A globe belief is incongruent with Earth measurements. This is the reality, right? The newest of rhetorics for us. I mean, it's so obvious. We've just whistled past all flat Earth prerequisites for about 12 years of covering this subject. Now, in the pre-show at least, the chaps were talking about the dissonance of others that they're encountering along their travels in certain servers and asking themselves, why are you arguing about this anymore? You understand that Earth's flat, but you still want to, as they put it, and I put it, sniff your own farts in debate. Like, I kind of asked the same question of the guys on the panel, although I've waited till the live show's on so I can get a reaction from them. But why do you care? In all honesty, it sounded like you're projecting your inability to let go onto them because you're in that server wanting to engage with people about the subject, right? The reality isn't about whether or not they can let it go, as much as you're not going to like me saying this to you on my panel. It's about whether or not you can let it go. If you still care about it.
That's right. We're the smart ones. We want them to know this is how you argue. What's wrong with you people? Nothing to do with logic.
Yeah, Neil's got it. Neil's led right into it immediately. I love it.
kind of. You know what it is, Nathan? It's not that. It's not that at all. So you wonder, let me see what they're talking about over there. I guess maybe in some cases it is. But then when you hear things from 2015, you like get frustrated. Like, is anybody moving forward? And it gets frustrating. But I get your point.
Yeah. I mean, I get your point as well, Nathan. And yeah, me and Neil paid a little visit yesterday, but I don't think we went in intentionally to say, right, we can tell you this now. And we're just listening to a conversation. And I think because we're talking like this and pointing this out on this show, it is frustrating when you hear them talk about, something not to do with the measurements, just a heliocentric claim. Could be, for example, could be maybe Earth spin, Earth rotation, and arguing about that. And we can, planes flying around the curve, and we can measure the Earth's rotation of the sphere. But then I'm just thinking, when we boiled it down to, we know Earth's measured flat from sea level, yeah, in all instances. So why would you bother arguing anything else? Not arguing. Why would you get into this wrangle-tangle about something that isn't possible because Earth is measured flat and we can demonstrate it and explain how it is? So
right. You made a statement of fact, and he tried to turn it.
One more time, Neil. He broke up. He tried to what? Turn it into what? Maybe you can regale us with the story one day because you were there.
Sorry, Nick, I don't know where he was going with that. Sorry.
Yeah, I got disconnected. I said you made a statement of fact on the show, and whoever, it might have been a flat earther, he tried to turn it into logic. That was what was frustrating to me. And that's not always the case, because I went in Earth Awakenings and there was a guy breaking down, what aliens are, and that there is land, maybe back in the day there used to be, new lands. And I was like, wow, this guy got it. He understands. And those new lands were beyond the horizon. But now we seem to be looking up. So, you hear things like that. You're like, somebody's paying attention.
Things are looking north.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking north now for the lands instead of looking straight ahead.
So let's ask a few questions then. The people you were having this discussion with, both the guy that you praised for breaking down the historic account of people finding worlds beyond the offing, literally still referred to in some instances as new worlds, and how the people on those new worlds were unfamiliar races of people who, if they were to come to your territory, would be still commonly described as aliens. And I assume he's broken it down in a similar sort of context as I've just done, right? That's what you're talking about. So you've praised this guy, and you've also condemned a guy who's talking about Earth turn and geometric horizons and so on and so forth. Now, my question is, in both instances, how much consequence did they have in regards to Earth and its measurements?
Absolutely none.
So you're arguing with people who are inconsequential with respect to the subject matter itself and concerned about whether or not they've got the right argumentation, correct?
I don't think we was arguing.
We were just making statements of fact. Yeah, we were arguing. I was just wondering why they were arguing.
There's no argument, Nathan. You do know that.
I do know that, and I run a daily show about it still, because I find this subject fascinating, because there's a one world religion still in place. Therefore, the evergreen nature of flat Earth is always going to have an appeal for me. Therefore, as long as it intrigues me, I'll continue to make a show about it. But by the same token, and this isn't, as I explained after yesterday's show had concluded, it isn't called for me to suggest that you stop talking about it or stop going in or stop debating about it when I say the complete opposite. When I say there is no debate, there is no discussing it, it is inconsequential whether or not we understand or accept these things. Doesn't mean I don't want to talk about them either. So from that perspective, you could call me hypocritical. But we are inconsequential when it comes to Earth and its measurements. How it is being dealt with in any practical capacity is flat by anybody who deals with it. So from that point of view...
what it is...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, Nathan. No, sorry, go on. It's all right, I'll let you finish. Sorry.
No, I was finished.
I think... yeah, I interrupted and I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry. It was... bloody hell. What's that going on about?
I'll come in. I'll save you. Hey, Nathan, listen. We've been lied to on a massive scale. The world needs to be woken up. We are going to save the world.
No, you're not.
No, I've got it now.
Okay, let's just rephrase my question. How much of a threat to Earth and its flat measurements were the people who you were dealing with?
Now, how do I answer this? No threat at all. But it's what in their mind. That's where the battlefield is, in your mind. If we could free their mind, Nathan, to understand that we do not live on this spinning water ball, that we've been lied to since from cradle to grave. We're told that we're living on this spinning ball, soil in the sky, which, by the way, Skeptic has some really nice freaking pictures of stars. I mean, Venus looks nothing like a freaking sphere. So, yeah, we've been lied to on a massive scale.
The thing is, as well, we talk about the book. There's no book out there like the Nathan's book's going to be. Where this part of the pond level where we're at now, where it's measured flat, nobody can alter that. That's the way it's always been done. So when you actually find that out, and you deep down in your heart you know it, like I do, and we all do in here, yeah. That's like it's a new turning point. So. It is, yes. So you might find now Nathan might have shedded all his skin of the debate and argument. I might still have a little bit of skin left on that I need to get off my chest. So people are, so I might find myself going in these rooms and not bragging and sniffing my own farts in a big way, but just putting out there this new found way of just saying the Earth's measured flat. There's no argument, no debate. You don't have to talk about spinning balls. You don't have to argue about gravity. We've got sea level. It's the 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. That's the way it's always been. And once you realise that, you can just let things go. So, yeah.
It's a hard task because we haven't quite found our footing in terms of being an evangelist for not caring, because those two things seem completely incongruent. To turn around and say, with your fist stamping on the desk, you should not care. Well, you seem like you care quite a lot. You're here banging the desk.
Hold on a second. Just like people, all right, you know how they come in and they skip right past all the flat earth prerequisites? So we are just there pointing them out. You're going to skip by them. I'm going to point them out. You flat earth are going to skip by it as this ball is taking you to earth spin. You're going to skip. We're going to be there to point it out. Nothing wrong with that. If it's okay to skip by it, then it's okay for me to point it out.
Yeah, but
maybe they're not seeing it.
It is okay for them to skip by it unless they have some form of consequence with respect to Earth's measurements, because we, in a controlled opposition format, are laying it out for the public to see the futility of the non-debate. So they can see fart-sniffing dweebs versus stoner hippies and conspiratards, and they can see that being played out separate to the geography. But the fact that it's separate to the geography, that is to say the religious belief of the 20th and 21st centuries, at least in our experience, has been something that hasn't had any bearing, no pun intended, on the actual navigation, measurement, charting, surveying, opening up the world to new lands. All of those things were done flat, regardless of the after-the-fact detachment with anti-globe and globe going on in some separate corner, like it's unrelated to the measurements. Now, here we are, still within that little corner of globe/anti-globe, saying the measurements of the sphericity that you believe in require Earth to be measured flat, making me have no need to point that out, because the fact that it's measured flat means that we can have this discussion and it not be consequential to actual measurements of Earth or dealing with Earth, navigating Earth, charting Earth, mapping it, surveying it, building on it, sailing across it, flying over it. All of those things just function flat anyway, regardless of if we're even having the debate. So again, like I say, it's a difficult one where we're going to have to find this common ground where we can find a purpose in telling people that it really is inconsequential whether or not you want to believe it's a ball or believe it's flat if you don't know it's just measured that way, because it's just measured that way, and any practical application of Earth in any instance will require it to be so. You know, and all you can really do if you face that cognitive dissonance is somehow justify to yourself how, I don't know, generally north is up because of my magnetic field lines, and you hope that nobody turns around and points out that you're affirming the consequent, that you're utilising fallacious reasoning. Now, if nobody points out that you're using fallacious reasoning, and in your mind you've squared the circle of north in a horizontal angular measurement or azimuth isn't in any way congruent with a sphere belief where you have to assert that north is actually up, or the top of something, top of a sphere Earth. Well, you know, your person that's doing that, that's entering into that cognitive dissonance, is doing so in kind of a harmless way. The only person that, if you want to see harm being done, is the person that is under control by a narrative that's governed by people in a greater degree of authority than the person that's being subject to it. In other words, it's just another element of control in our day-to-day lives. But short of wanting somebody to go to the other extreme of waking up when our particular subject doesn't require anybody to wake up. Know what I mean?
Oh, yes, it does.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why does flat Earth require anybody to wake up when it will be measured flat regardless of if somebody believes they're on a ball? And even if they do believe they're on a ball, there's ways and means for them to carry on believing they're on a ball, even though it's incongruent with the measurements.
No. Nathan. We have a job to do here. We have to wake up the world. We have to change the world, Nathan.
How much does it pay?
Don't you worry about how much it pays. Our day will come. Thing is, though, on the other side, Nathan, no, you brought your book out. You want people to read that book. Now, what we're saying and what me and Neil was saying last night is exactly what you've probably written about. So it's not going to change anybody's. That's not going to alter the way the Earth's measured either. You know what I'm saying? Not putting your book down or anything. I'm just saying, but you've put that information and into the latest narrative of how the housekeeping questions are now redundant and it's pointless, fighting and arguing because there was no argument. But you're still letting people know in that story that, the flat Earth prerequisites that are used continuously, people describing how Earth is measured without even realising that they're describing elevation angles from sea level. So it's in the book. So I mean, you want people to read that book, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. But I say this without sounding mercenary because it's always been the objective. The purpose of the book was always to generate a revenue stream. Yes, it's based on my experience. But ultimately speaking, the book's only purpose for me was to keep money coming in because YouTube wasn't paying the bills. In other words, doing what I'm doing now isn't necessarily covering my mortgage, right? So I needed to generate an extra income. Now, don't get me wrong, it means that there's another means of somebody who purchases the book finding that information out. It's just offering another way of digesting the information. Or bracing against it. I mean, obviously there's people who will be motivated to buy it just to tell next man that it's a load of rubbish, right? But either way, as long as it's keeping my mortgage paid, that's my purpose as being a YouTuber. Now, I love the subject. Go ahead.
Okay, so you wrote a book to have another stream of revenue, and the only way to have that stream of revenue is if people in the world buy it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we get it out there that Earth is measured flat. We're not living on a spinning water ball. The more people eyes are opened up to that, the more they're going to want to buy the book and understand what's going on.
Yeah, we're just promoting the book, Nathan.
Exactly.
Of
Has
course.
nothing to do with us patting ourselves on the back and saying, hey, be like us. I mean, it would be smart to be like us because we ended the argument. Not we, but the reality that Earth is measured flat just ends all the nonsense, all the shouting, all the screaming, all the name calling, all the drinking bleach, all the jumping off a building. It ends everything. So why not share that and hope that people grasp onto it?
Yes, for a small fee that will go into my bank account.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's just, like I say, it's hard to put a finger on what the rhetoric will eventually turn into, because currently it's not important, we're not important, it's measured flat anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. If you want to believe you're on a ball, I can take you through the inconsistencies with the rhetoric that will take you away from the flat earth measurements, and you know, the chances are you probably won't be grateful to me for it. Quite the contrary.
Like I say, it's difficult when you've been in this arena for a certain amount of time, when you've been arguing and so-called debating, and now, and I feel like all of us in this room, and I'm being honest when I say this, I was sort of getting to this. Even this is sort of Nathan's highlighting this constantly, and Nathan might be totally like, you know, more than I, because Nathan's not going in them rooms and doing that. I am a little bit still, and you know, messaging Wayne and other people. So I'm still doing a little bit of that. But it is for one, it's difficult sometimes when you've done it for so many years to stop doing it. But what I'm trying to say is, I haven't said to myself, oh, I need to stop doing this now because, like, for example, Nathan's talking about, or the panel are talking about it. I think for me and all of us, it's been a natural progression. You know, I've said it before, when we did the 30 words, I was like, wow, I need this now to end it. And so that was the start of things for me in the way where it was coming to a finalised, then you know, you don't mention these words. You know, I'm sort of, it was the start of something for me there, realising that, well, it's flat, it's measured flat, and that's that. So, yeah, it was a natural journey, I think, for us all. And like Nathan said, where it's going to progress to and how we're going to deal with it going forward, I think we'll just naturally fall into place.
Yeah, well, hopefully with time we'll figure it out, but for now it does kind of feel a little bit like we don't exactly know how to form our own rhetoric.
Huh?
Well, it's saying you shouldn't care, it's inconsequential.
That is our rhetoric. That's not hard to form.
I mean, if I was talking to a globe believer and or even an anti-flat earther, you know, I am going to point these things out. You know, if as soon as they start talking about, I don't know, Earth spin and sea level being curved,
That's what?
I'm going to start with the measurement. I'll bring them back to sea level, and I can talk about celestial navigation, elevation angles, sea level, all mapping profiles. You know, that the measurements. I will do that. To point out there, you know, if I'm in that conversation, but I don't think. Yeah, we popped it in the show last night, but I'm not going out with a dagger and a spear trying to think, right, I'm going to tell you about this sea level. You need
Exactly. I was just killing time waiting for Skep to get here because he was late. So I said, let me see what's going on 24/7. I seen one deck there, and I was like, oh, beautiful.
I did that when I first realised Earth was flat. I went out on a mission to convert people. Yeah. Now at this stage of the game, I know it's measured flat. Nothing, it always has been. Nothing can alter that. It's not going to alter anybody's personality in any way once you say this to them. But I will point it out if it's in a conversation. But I'm not going out like I did in the early days of finding out Earth was flat. like thinking I was on a mission from God, having to tell people and convert them. So that's not there anymore. In that bad anyway.
That would be the Blues Brothers were on a mission from God. Well, you can laugh about it, and you don't know until it's obvious, but you may well be on a mission from God. Your book may be a mission from God, Nathan. Your book may open up the eyes of a lot of people that what we're living on. How would you feel if you design something and then everybody is exalting it as something else? As created flat, but now it's a ball, and the whole world believes it. How were you if you were the author of that? If you were the one that constructed a flat Earth, but everybody that is on the flat Earth was deceived that it's now a spinning water ball, and there are other ones like it straight up north. Wouldn't that bother you? When you use somebody to, hey, let's get this real information out here. You never know how God is using you.
Yeah, well, I feel like my purpose in that regard is to demonstrate indifference. That is to say, when I understand that I can't declare myself as being on a mission from God to prove it's flat when it's dealt with flat anyway, that seems so silly. It's like, so...
Yeah, but people don't know that. We all know that it's flat. Yes, you're inconsequential to what it is. We all are, because it is. It was given to us that way, like one deck says. But people don't know it.
Yeah,
They
and if
think what was given to us was a globe.
Well, given to the people who are inconsequential to the fact. So if anybody wants to get involved with Earth measurement, they're going to deal with it flat, be taught that it's not concealed. It's utilising concepts that are even labelled with their flatness, like sea level, eye level, surface level. It's not hidden when it comes to the actual practical application of Earth. So the only thing that is left when it comes to our mission from God to convert people, the people that we'd be converting are inconsequential to the measurements, and the people who would be consequential to the measurements would learn that it was flat anyway. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't still maintain their religious belief in it being ball-shaped, even when they're learning how flat it is. I can attest to that from people within my own family. My sister, when learning how to navigate with celestial navigation to go out on a boat with her husband, several boats, were taught how to measure Earth flat, and she understood implicitly how flat Earth is measured. Didn't mean that she wasn't in a religion of ball faith at the same time. People can hold that cognitive dissonance. It's engineered that you can separate geography from what is perceived to be science. And it's not science, is it?
No, not at all. It's a measurement, geometry, like you say. But Nathan, here's the thing. Atheism goes hand in hand with the spinning globe, right? That goes hand in hand. Even though there are people that are Bible-believing people that think they're on a spinning water ball because, they learned it in school. That's all there is to it. There's no proof of it, right? So, it is important to everyday people, because most people that think we're the third planet from the sun in some sort of solar system backs up atheism.
Suppose Neil, what we're sort of getting at is there's no need whatsoever for, I'll use me as an example, to go into other servers or other rooms or knock on people's doors and just start explaining sea level and it's not a globe. But this room, if somebody walks into this room and starts asking questions about this geography, then we will sort of lay down what we know. Yeah, am I correct with that? Do you think?
Yeah,
as it stands,
the service too.
Yeah, that's where we're at. It seems silly, but yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I still think I never bought the hiding God nonsense. That's ridiculous. But what it does do is it dupes people into thinking that we're just freaking, a speck of dust in a vast universe that can't even be freaking measured, So when people come to a reality that it is not what they thought it was through the schooling system, it is eye-opening. You can't deny it. Polarizing argument. I mean, when we first came into it, it was hot and heavy when it first started hitting the internet. It was all over the place. You can't get away from it, and it's like that for all new people that come in. We think it's wow, it was great then. It's the same for new people coming in. They come across this topic and they're blown away.
Yeah. But, it's nice to get some normies walking through the door who are just interested. Yeah, we can lay down what we know now. Anti-flat earthers, I mean, they're just going to annoy you, aren't they? And you're going to get into the stupid conversations about level not being level and all that. So we've stopped doing that a long time ago, really, haven't we? With the stupid videos.
All right. I'm going to deal with this one time, Nathan. One time. Okay? From the chat. And then he's timed out already. This is what you get. I am just asking the question, why am I being censored? How can we assure when we make an axiom or definition, it is not us making the reification and affirming the consequent? This has nothing to do with logic when we talk about Earth measurement. Why they continue trying to put it into a logic?
I love it. So straight away, there's a couple of things to break down in that. So you think you're creating axioms, do you? You self-indulgent little fart sniffer. You're not creating any axioms, okay, Dumbo? Yeah, let's just get that straight, right? Now, if you want to employ the axiomatic principles of Earth measurement, you'll be doing something with it practically. Like I gave an example earlier with my sister out on a boat, or boats, yeah? Then you're going to apply these axioms to not dying. You're not doing those things. You're not owning a boat. You're not producing any measurement structures. You're not the arbiter of what miles is. So you concerning your precious little head about what you need to do when you develop axioms so you don't affirm that you're an inconsequential YouTube comment skank. You're an absolute nobody. You're not developing a new system akin to miles. You're not mapping or charting the territory. You're not doing any of those bloody things. You're just some tosser. So don't worry about it. You're not doing any of those things. However, axiomatically, when we describe how others, not us, apply axioms to Earth measurements, they are flat. That's just a simple statement of absolute fact that you're not consequential to. But you want to worry about whether or not when we develop axioms, whether or not we're you're not doing any of those things. Don't you worry your precious little head about it. And if you come up with a new system to replace miles, then let us know. Maybe you'll become consequential. Maybe you'll get a job with the Ordnance Survey and start measuring in horizontal linear miles. But you'll still be applying the axiomatic principles of miles that you did not develop to your job at the Ordnance Survey when measuring Earth flat with respect to sea level. You're just not doing any of those things. You're just a chat skank. Now, again, if you're going to go, well, I was only asking, what, a YouTuber? You're asking a YouTuber? Write a little letter to the Ordnance Survey. And maybe you'll get someone either under the contact point that wants to affirm your ball belief with you. And you can tell each other, the guy at the Ordnance Survey, how ball-shaped it is. As an example, the guy might start telling you how north is the top of stuff so that he and you can affirm your ball faith. But when you actually apply anything to Earth and its navigation, north won't be the top of anything. It'll be with respect to a degree in the horizontal. Because that's what north is. That's what measurement of Earth's surface is in degrees when they're horizontal. If you're going to describe directionality, that's how it works. Now, I didn't develop those axioms. They're not mine, and they're certainly not yours. So don't worry about it. I'll ruffle your little head and tell you to piss off, you little sod. Get out of it. You're not consequential here.
Exactly, Nathan. By the way, I'm sorry. Go ahead, one deck.
I'm just saying the guy, if he wants, he could spend some time trying to, maybe look at inventing maybe a compass that works vertically. Do something like that.
Well, looky here. We know who you are. Side wheel rotation and set due east. I mean, it's obvious who you are. it's so obvious to a duck, and we know who you are. So
I don't
we're not
know who he is or
entertaining
care.
this.
Sorry, just to clear that, Neil might say that. I don't care. I don't know who you are and I don't care. I do know
I
you're
do.
utterly inconsequential, but that's only because I know that's the case for everybody here, including myself, right? I'm not going to pretend or feign that I have some consequence when it comes to directionality. When I accurately describe the degree in the horizontal that north is, as an example, you can either accept that and its axiomatic principles of horizontality for the degree measurement in the horizontal, or reject it. But it doesn't matter. It still exists, right? We still describe directionality with degrees in the horizontal. Like, you don't like it or lump it. But if you're going to go out and navigate with it, you will apply it flat, whether you want to or not. Or you die. Or you get lost real quick. Yeah, that's just it. Yeah, same goes for measuring the surface. If you're going to measure the terrain accurately, you're going to need an axiomatic principle in directionality and with values for distance, miles, kilometres. Now, principally, they have to hold true as horizontal so that you can accurately describe deviations of the land topology from that horizontal. It's called sea level. It's also averaged, measured, flat. So you can do these things. Now, you don't have to do them. You're not doing them. And if you are, you'll do them flat. So again, me telling you this is inconsequential. This whole discussion with a chat skank is moot. Me explaining it to him understanding it, accepting it, denying it, challenging it, it's all irrelevant. North is still going to be described as 0. And the other directionalities when you're holding a compass will be capable of being described in a degree from the horizontal. What's that? Horizontal bends? Good job you're not leading the boat. Good job you're not in the cockpit. Good job you're not making the maps. Yeah? And you're not. If you were, you'd be measuring Earth flat, though. Those are just the principles that are used when we measure Earth. I say we in a general term. I'm not doing it either. I'm a YouTuber. But here you are asking a YouTuber. Go and talk to the Ordnance Survey and say, "Excuse me, Ordnance Survey, who've measured Earth accurately to the millimetre flat. If I don't want to accept that we point north in the horizontal, can I say that we point up?" You can do that. Just go and ask them. Say, "Can I have north as up?"
It's funny. I laugh. It's funny because when I say we know who you are, like it's so obvious because then my message thing keeps popping up with these certain people's icons. I mean, he's pathetic. I mean, come on. Come in with a better cover.
I mean, even if you did contact the Ordnance Survey people or, people who make the maps, they're probably deep down with Cogdis as well. I mean, we've just found that out with Wayne, didn't we?
Yeah,
the happy-go-lucky guy.
Hopefully you find somebody on the other end of the phone at the Ordnance Survey who'll say, yeah, of course, I think North's up too. Yeah? You're a ball believer? I believe in the ball too. Let's believe together.
Well, we found that we were watching these videos, haven't we? People are actually demonstrating how Earth is navigated, mapped, and measured in one instance, and then when you point out that, well, that's a flat Earth measurement, and you're utilising the Earth as a horizontal plane, they fall into this pit, and Cogdis triggers, and they turn into like an anti-flat earther pretty quick. It's amazing.
Yeah. So wow.
Of course, you're good.
You're going to go out
you've just got to be ready.
If you're going to go out and measure Earth, you're going to go out and measure it flat. If you're going to go out and navigate Earth, you're going to navigate it flat. If you're going to survey Earth, you're going to survey it flat. If you're going to fly over it, you're going to fly over it flat. So all of those things that have a sort of life and death consequence attached to them deal with Earth as a flat plane, and always have. Now, further to that, you can take those measurements of a flat Earth and apply them to a convention called sphericity and heliocentrism. That is to say, for you to hold a belief in a ball, you've got to understand how flat Earth must be measured in the first instance to achieve the ball by extrapolation. Now, once you understand those things, it becomes completely laughable. Because when you see people who pretend to be flat earthers, normally anti-globers, arguing with people who say, "Oi, stupid flat earther, Earth's a sphere. Don't you know about my field lines that go into the top of the ball?" When they do that, you go, both of you numpties fail to appreciate that the ball that you're arguing about it being or not being was built on flat Earth prerequisite measurements also. So to have a ball, you've got to ignore the creation of the ball by way of flat Earth measurements also. So axiomatically, you can deny these principles. That's normies that have no consequence on Earth or its measurement or its travel or its mapping or its surveying or its building. Those people can deny it, but it means they also deny their ball because they can't build their ball. It's like, what you don't want miles to be horizontal. Okay, so when you describe radial values for balls in miles, you don't accept those. Oh, you accept that those can be straight linear. I see. That's interesting. Stupid idiots. You know what I mean? It's ludicrous.
Just slightly different. It always used to get me years ago when, the people who are telling you that, it's measured locally flat. Yeah. So they're telling you that it's measured flat. The globe's too big to see any curvature. And then you've got the aviation manuals telling you that the aircraft must treat the ground below it as flat and stationary. I mean, that comment there, that last one I just made, that really, I grabbed hold of that years ago and thought, why would you do that? You know what I mean? So
if you don't, people die
hints all the time.
If you assume that there's a great big empty void opening up ahead of you at 8 inches per... Oh, sorry, I couldn't go more than 30 seconds without mentioning the horizontal linear distance in miles that you'll derive a squared function from. Nevertheless, we measure Earth flat in miles that must be flat to derive 8 inches per mile squared to describe a void below the surface level that we've got with the linear miles, right? So we've got this area opening up here below this squared function, below the measured flat miles. So we'll just forget how flat we've got to measure to do this and infer by way of calculation that there's a void opening up ahead of us below the surface level. Well, if a plane takes that as read and flies into that void, it will crash and die because there is no void. We start by measuring the surface level in miles and then calculate into existence a derivative at 8 inches per mile. That's a void that you couldn't fly into. So you don't take Earth as being anything other than flat, or people die. It is that simple. Therefore, ergo, when dealing with Earth to build on, survey, map, navigate, chart, fly, sail, you do all those things with respect to a flat planar surface. Now, this is not disputable. It's how it's measured in miles. For you to believe you're on a ball, you require miles. So you can derive squared functions from them, you bunch of clowns. Not that they're ever put into practical use for anything. Oh no, the boat's going to fall over the horizon, said nobody ever. But you bunch of muppets have a distance to geometric horizon calculator that infers that if you measure your height off a flat Earth perpendicular to it from sea level, that's also measured flat, then you can infer with a parallel eye level, parallel to the flat surface level, that there's a dip angle pointing to a point below the surface level. The void that opens up that the planes must not fly into, or they crash into the ground. That they're measuring with barometric pressure also from surface level when they describe the straight and level flight in flight level. That's how we deal with Earth. So anybody who has any consequence, regardless of their religious belief in being on a ball, they must adhere to flat Earth measurements, because that's all we've got. Earth's measured flat.
So how do you describe that void you're talking about, Nathan?
We have to derive it from a squared functionality after measuring flat linear horizontal miles for surface level. For the void that the planes don't fly into when they treat it as flat, because they must. That's how all the measurements work, how radar works, how flight level works, how altitude works. Yes, everything to do with any Earth measurement ever is flat. What's that? Shock and horror, you thought you were on a ball? Yeah, your ball also needs it to be flat. You're going to derive radial values from areas of equal elevation and altitude angles for the sun for a latitude and a longitude system that's converted into sphericity after flat Earth measurements. So you require it to be flat too to believe in your stupid ball.
But Nathan, they do admit that openly now. I mean, I'll just read you. I got a reply off a guy I was talking to in the week. We were just talking about, no curvature measurements. He said the curvature of Earth is measured via theodolite. And this is one of his replies, but this is what I'm getting at. You're saying they need it to be flat also. Now, this is his response to me, sort of, inferring that the Earth has been measured, the curvature has been measured. So, one day, you are perhaps misunderstanding the term zenith angle here. Just to be clear, the zenith angle is the complement of the elevation angle, i.e. 90 degrees, minus the elevation angle. If the elevation angle from theodolite 1 to theodolite 2 angle measuring devices was, say, 3 degrees, then the zenith angle would be 87 degrees. On that basis, we would expect the reciprocal elevation angles to add up to 0 if the Earth was flat, but add up to a negative figure if curved.
So you say, if my flat Earth measurement is incongruent with the flat Earth measurement, Earth isn't flat? That's ludicrous. You're taking one flat Earth measurement with respect to another flat Earth measurement. Zenith is just 90 degrees to surface level. It's on screen now. This is what this guy's describing. We're going to measure an altitude angle. Okay. What, but if Earth's flat, it won't match a different altitude angle? They're both flat Earth measurements. Well, no, it's the opposite to an angle taken from zenith. So what, if I draw the vertex here rather than here? Yeah, they're both with respect to a flat plane, though. It's called an altitude angle. What's that? Has that got something to do with maybe the surface when we talk about altitude angles? Yes, we're describing it with respect to the surface. And an angle with respect to the surface means the angle must have a flat baseline. That's what an angle is. And if it's specifically an altitude angle, then it will have 90 degrees to the object measured and 90 degrees to your position. That's what a zenith is. What's that? Reciprocal zenith? Reciprocal flat Earth prerequisite 90 degrees to a flat surface angles mean it's not flat. No, it absolutely means that to measure those angles to suggest that we haven't got a flat surface, you're going to relinquish the zenith in the first instance. Here it is. It's 90 degrees to the planar surface that you measure for the altitude angle. What, like minusing it from the altitude angle? It's still with respect to a plane. Everything detailed in this numpty dipshit's comment to you requires Earth be measured flat, and then requires you to ignore how flat it's being measured so he can say, well, if they don't do X... Sorry, you're measuring Earth flat to achieve these questions, you stupid numpty.
Yep. But like you say, they know they need the horizontal. They know they need the elevation angle. And they're explaining how they're using it.
Well, here's a guy saying, guys, the show is getting hard to watch. It is the same thing every day. Why not have some debate or have some guest on? I find myself tuning out after 10 minutes. If he could give me the point of contention, we'll have a debate. How about that?
50 minutes in.
I didn't even think of that one thing. Yeah.
So, I lost interest 40 minutes ago. You did.
He's tuning out after 10 minutes, 15 minutes in. But really, if he could give us a point of contention, we'll gladly have a debate. I got that from Refracted.
Well, the door's open. Nathan always says the door's open. Come in, we're a lot calmer now. Come and join the calm crew. The calm, friendly, Earth is measured flat crew. Have a chat with us. Don't bite. Most of the time.
I've got to be honest, I'm actually not that pleasant with these people. Now that we've recognised the error of our ways and had to step into an area of humility, say, how did we not recognise this? I don't suddenly feel like the people who come and say, well, what I am blind to, you need to be educated in, having recognised the futility of the discussion. Now I'm going to look down my nose at people and go, well, okay, you're too stupid to get it. They could turn around and go, took you 10 years. And I go, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm stupid too. Just less stupid than you.
Not 10 years, 7 years.
Yeah, it is boring. It's a slow drip when you come to understanding and recognizing this information. I'm not going to deny it. It's a very slow process of cognition. 12 years to get to the point where we absolutely, without question, recognize the futility of any discussion that's implied. There isn't one. It was a false narrative, a controlled opposition, a way of making people who are conspiratorial argue about whether or not Earth's spherical, so that the geographers, map makers, charters, surveyors, builders, navigators, pilots can all deal with Earth as a flat plane, because that is how it's dealt with. Separate to a discussion that's perceived in flat Earth terms to be about whether or not Earth's got any sphericity. Where's the curve? What do you mean, where's the curve? It's calculated into existence in maths only by way of flat Earth measurements of surface level. You've got to have flat linear mile measurements of Earth's surface to suggest that there's a deviation from those flat measured miles at a rate of 8 inches per the flat measured miles. Now, once I understood implicitly that there's a flat measurement of Earth in all instances, making the discussion moot, I then have to recognise through humility how stupid I was for this entire time. There was no debate. Now, when you come and say, you should have people debating, that just tells me immediately how stupid that person is. Now, am I going to be kind to that person? No, not at all. Nobody's been kind to me over the last 12 years. I mean, they have. I've got an absolutely outstanding community. But I mean, the people who pretend to oppose us, because that's all it was for 12 years. A perception that there's an opposition to be had, while those perceived to be opponents justify absolutely outrageous behaviour towards us. So I have no mercy. None. It's been knocked out of me.
You're off mute, Neil.
Sorry.
Why should we have mercy? We're talking about these things daily, according to the person that's critiquing. Oh, well, do you have any debate? Well, do you understand it's measured flat? If you did, you'd understand there isn't a debate. There's no reason in having any discussions about it. But here you are asking us to make it more exciting. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to ignore how miles are flat and then have somebody tell me how that there's a derivable curvature from miles that are flat that I've got to ignore to have the discussion? I can't do that. Now, if you want to call that boring, piss off. Don't let the door hit you on the back. Dweeb. What I will do as you walk out, though, is point out how stupid you are, because you perceive there to be some discussion or debate to have. Well, we're pointing out daily, according to you in a very boring way, how there is no debate. You're just too stupid to comprehend it. So get lost. Go and watch Simon Dan. Go and involve yourself with the other idiots, the numpties that are out there that are in abundance, and you can go and interact with them.
Sorry, Nathan. I don't know who this person is. I don't know who he is. I was just saying, if you want to come on and chat, come on and chat. If you want to come on and you think there's a debate and you've got a point to prove, or you think you've got a measurement of a globe, let us hear it and we'll set you straight within probably 30 seconds of you opening your mouth.
Yeah, I've got a totally different attitude. I don't desire it. While I invite people to join the show, there's an open doorway. There always will be, because there's a one world religion worldview that's still in place of heliocentrism, and we can correct those people. But when somebody suggests, as a poisoning the well fallacy, that the show's become boring, I immediately have my backup with this person and do want to chastise them. All right, boring. So you understand the futility of the discussion. There is no debate. No, you're suggesting we have a debate, and that's the reason it's boring. This person's disingenuous. They absolutely deserve my disdain. They deserve to be absolutely chastised by me live. But these people fear me. And want to tell me how my show's boring. You fear me. Why? Because you know deep down that were you to join the show, you'd end up getting chastised for your stupidity. You'd end up having your own claim to be globe suggestions in debate, end quote you, be torn a shred with their use of flat earth prerequisites. That's what you understand. That's why you're going to tell me that the show's boring. No, it's not. Now, we're having a wild time. We're all discussing how we can move forward in our rhetoric. Slow process though it may be. How can we explain the futility of the circumstances we find ourselves in? How can we explain that it is inconsequential whether or not you, the person asking me to improve my fun factor in debate terms, whether or not you understand how flat Earth's being measured anyway. How can we do that? How can we explain that rhetoric to a wider audience? How inconsequential they are to a discussion that they hold with cognitively dissonant views. One that they're not exercising, that's flat Earth measurements that they're not doing, and one that they're also not doing, that's globe derivatives of flat Earth measurements, creating a sphere belief and religion for them to be kept under control with. Neither of which is being exercised by this normie, who's, from my perspective, the third perspective, inconsequential to both. You're not actually going out in any verifiable way to confirm your sphere religion belief in a sky vacuum on a spherical shaped world. You're not confirming that in any way, shape or form. It's just a religious belief that you hold. But you're also not going out mapping and charting or building anything. And if you were, you'd be doing it flat. Oh, only locally flat, says the cognitively dissonant bum boys that don't actually do any of this either, that make YouTube careers out of it. Again, utterly inconsequential. These Batman-wearing T-shirt idiots. That's what they are. Inconsequential to the subject, like the guy in chat. But what do? They don't say, I'm bored, I'm going to watch my cat videos. They come and say, I lost interest after 10 minutes, 50 minutes into the live show. All right, so we already know you're a liar. Yeah, I'd tear a strip off this person because they've already painted a picture of what type of person they are when they call my show boring. Right? Well, yeah, we've been doing it for 12 years. It's still paying the mortgage, just.
Boy, I find it boring. After 10 minutes, I want to tune out almost at the end of the show. Good pickup one, Deck. I didn't even recognize that.
Yeah, you're still here. Well, then, no problem. Then you can leave.
Or smash the super chat and support what you're obviously engaged with. You've spent 50 minutes here, yeah? And you're engaging with us, asking us to do stuff. Well, what am I here? Well, to feed my kids.
On Patreon.
That's exactly. Exactly. Join me on Patreon. You value what we do and want to improve it with your words if you're to be taken to be generous. You're not. I already know that. But if we're to take that, just offer me support. I'm here to support my family, not to educate you in that which you find boring. All right? You're still here telling us about it, though, so you obviously have some value when you lie about having lost interest after 10 minutes. You're still here 50 minutes later. I'm only doing this to support my family. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm writing books. That's why I'm producing material. I've had to resort to flogging microphones just to keep the bills paid, but ultimately making videos about microphones still falls into that category. I'm doing it to make a living. You're here for what? To affirm your bias in a ball that you think there's a debate about, telling us how boring it is. What? To understand implicitly that there's two sides of a discussion that both require flat earth prerequisites and both sides of the discussion ignore them. You understand that, do you? Well, then get on with your day. You obviously already know it's flat. No, you're telling us there needs to be debate. Scumbag. I already know this person's a scumbag, don't I? So he would have a strip tour off him. There's very few people who come across our path that aren't just scumbags. YouTube doesn't offer us to normies. They offer us to fart-sniffing, Batman T-shirt wearing wankers. That's who we get offered up to. People like you in the chat, that's what you are. I already know you're a fart-sniffing, Batman T-shirt wearing wanker.
Well, his name is, his icon and his stage name, shall we say, is Stars Be Flat. Now, what does that tell you?
That he's interested in telescopes and other boring shit?
He's stargazing and probably a conspiratard, But if we were talking about how, 9/11 was an inside job, he'd wring his hands together and call his friends to listen.
Well, he achieved his ends in one way. Us chastising this moron has meant he's got a bit of extra entertainment out of the end of the show. I'm sure he's pleased. Or she. I'd rather you just join me on Patreon, though, because you're obviously into what we're doing.
Nathan.
Say again. Say again, Neil. one more time, Neil. Now we've just got
Imagine
dead
I
air.
was to say that. Sorry, you got me now?
Yes.
Imagine I was to say that. What am I, 8 years in?
Yeah.
The last 10 minutes, 8 years in.
Things that I find boring, I don't tend to interact with.
Well, Nathan, what they want, you know what they want, Nathan. They want the lion ripping the head off of these people. That's what they want. What do you think he's saying? Let's have some debate. They want you slamming, cursing, and ripping somebody apart.
Sure, it will happen. It will be the case that as I'm out on tour promoting my book, that there'll be people who are introduced to the discussion just cause offence to me personally and the flat earth community as it's perceived to be bracing against bald faith. There'll be some anti-flat earther who's put in my presence. That will inevitably occur. So you'll see that the lion will then be let out of the cage and everyone will be delighted. I say everyone, a small minority of people who just want to see people fight. Like, is it not enough to know that Earth's measured flat by everybody who's got any consequence when it comes to measuring Earth? And, oh, that means you're not consequential to the discussion. The discussion itself is inconsequential to the Earth measurements, therefore you become redundant. But you want to see debate continue. Because if there's a debate to be had, some of the people on the so-called flat Earth side can perceive some importance to their own existence. Oh, well, I'm here to wake up the masses to the Earth. No, you don't need to. Should they go out and have to train in celestial navigation to go out on a boat, they'll learn exactly how flat it is and how to measure it as such. If they're out surveying the Earth to produce maps, then they'll be measuring it with respect to sea level, and they'll be measuring the topographical changes to the millimetre accuracy with respect to a common baseline called sea level. Mean sea level is a measurement also of an average of a flat planar topology when referencing the sea. It's called level and it's averaged so that we can have this master reference to measure Earth with. So what are you doing? Are you doing any of those? You're not. Oh, right, but you're going to wake up the world to flat Earth. You don't need to. It's all right. We're good, thanks. You're not needed. You're redundant.
I like the master reference terminology. I think that's great. Really good term for the sea level. Nice one. And then also, if you're out, I'd hope to think when you're out promoting the book that even if there's some, you don't need to. Sorry, mate. You don't need to be a lion now, really, or argue, especially when promoting the book. If some dweebs,
You're missing what he's saying. Tell him,
Yeah, then we
Nathan.
got another one.
Hold on.
Okay, man.
Nathan, explain what you mean when some of them might see the lion, because there'll be somebody during the interview, correct?
Yeah, that's going to happen. I'll be out and about, and it'll be like, would you like to have me on to talk about my new book? Yes, I would. Oh, I'd love that. We can talk about it and promote it, and I'll become an affiliate. Wonderful. What day? Thursday. Brilliant. See you then. Thursday rolls around. How are you doing? It's good to talk to you again. Yes, it is good to talk to you, Nathan. Thank you for being here. And also, may I introduce Anti-Flat Earth Cunt that you didn't know was going to be here.
You get it one deck.
yeah, that's a setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to happen. Eventually, it will happen. I know what Nathan's talking about.
I mean, I
Yeah.
try and avoid that. I try and, when I was out doing, when this was initially us fart sniffing and telling ourselves we were going to change the world, there was a certain amount of media hype around that. And there was a certain amount of contacts that I was fed to go out and become bits, right? Bits for various different news outlets. And for the most part, I turned almost all of them down because when you're building up a bit of rapport with these people, because you want to go out and self-promote as a YouTuber in my instance, then you want to know that they're going to be at least somewhat sympathetic to your plight. You know, at least listen, rather than mock and ridicule you. Well, when I was interacting with various different newspapers, TV outlets, YouTube channels, I would say, well, what's your motivation? What are you trying to achieve in this? And if they were combative in the back and forth before meeting them, I'm like, why would I want to meet you? You're a prick. You're not interacting with me in a way that I have found pleasant. And generally speaking, in any point in my life, I want to interact with people who are pleasant. So when I did Vice, which I did twice, one made it to air, one didn't, right? In both instances, the people who I interacted with were really amiable people. It was really good fun, both times. Yeah? Now, they even paid my expenses to get down and do the interview, and then to do I can't remember what year it was, but it was like a year in review where there was a whole bunch of people who'd done bits for Vice that year that were all put in the room together to argue. Great fun. I really enjoyed it. Never made it to air, but I was willing to go back. Why? Because when the piece came out, it wasn't a hit piece. Admittedly, there was some theremin music in the background that people were like, well, they're putting that weird spooky music over the top of you to make you sound like you're a nutcase. I'm like, if that's the worst they're going to do to keep you engaged as an anti-flat earther and hear what I've got to say, having read out questions to me and me answer them, then I can't really ask anything. They've not edited it in a way to make me look stupid. They've not asked questions that are intentionally designed to make me to be gotchas. They weren't doing that. They just were intrigued with what I did. I answered their questions in accordance to their suggestion that they'd be asking questions of that type, and that was it. It was a pleasant experience. Other experiences that were fed to me eventually made it to other flat earthers at the time, and I'd read them and go, glad I turned that down. Now, that's because I tend to vet people. So I'll be putting out press releases, and when I get replies, I'll still go through the process of vetting those individuals to see if they're actually genuinely intent on assisting me and therefore producing good material for them with me alongside them. Now, if they're just there to mock, ridicule, then obviously I'm just going to say, no, I'd rather not. No, thanks. It's already happened. A couple of people have got in touch with me proactively. Oh, I hear you've got a book coming out. Would you like to promote it? And they go, oh, who are you? And within, I don't know, a couple of emails, I'm going, you seem like a complete prick. Now, you can have me on, but you'll have to pay me. Oh, suddenly the conversation ends real quick when I'm like, yeah, of course I'll come on to your show where you clearly want to mock me, but you'll be paying me to do that. Then they don't want to anymore. I'm not interested then. Okay, good. That was a quick way of getting rid of you. But if I'm not going to enjoy time in those people's presence, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it for money. Still an overall motivation to keep the bills paid and keep my kids fed. So if they're willing to pay, then they just want me to engage with some prick about anti-flat earth rhetoric that they're going to pour disdain on to me and tell the world that I'm stupid in front of an audience. And I'll still do that for money.
Yeah, of course, because at least you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're not just wasting your time. Another thing, bring to me one point of contention concerning flat earth debate, and we'll have a debate, mister who's yelling from the freaking chat. Hello, your show's called Flat Earth Debate. What the
That's
F?
where I was going.
There's nothing to debate. Are they paying attention? Like, we've been having shows about this, Nathan, for how long now? Saying that there is no debate. The debate is ended once we come across measurement. And you're screaming that it's called Flat Earth Debate? You must just be a passerby, or you're not keeping up with the Flat Earth Debate. That's for sure. Because if you were, you would realize there is no debate.
Beautiful. It's called a self-defeating prophecy. So, I want to argue with you. How dare you call it a debate? Yeah, you're here telling us that you need to have discussions and debates with us about it. Now, the fact that the debate is null and void based on the measurements of Earth doesn't alter the fact that people like you still come to the comment section and suggest that there should be a debate about it. Because presumably you've now got the same cognitive dissonance that we're verbalising. You understand because we're telling you daily and you're finding it boring how flat Earth must be measured, but you still want there to be a debate. Yeah. That's like the majority of the Western world and world at large. They want to believe that there's sphericity because they're told that there's sphericity, and a good chunk of them want to affirm their bias, or not invest at all, just have it be figured out for them on their behalf without them having to worry about it. But you're not that guy. You're a guy who wants there to be a debate. So until the entire heliocentric worldview is no more, then I can still keep the namesake, because there'll always be people like you affirming and justifying my show's title. That doesn't alter the outcome of the so-called debate. There isn't one. Earth's measured flat. To be the perception of a debate, we will, you and I, you being a ball believer, me being a so-called flat earth believer, will both measure Earth flat. There's only a debate if one or both of those parties ignores how flat Earth must be measured for both sides' position to exist, nullifying the entire process. Doesn't mean that everyone's aware that it's null and void. Doesn't mean that people who actually measure Earth flat won't still hold on to their sphere belief. That will still be the case, justifying my show title. But thank you for validating it. Epic.
Right. And people are still thinking, like we've been saying yesterday, right? One deck in another server, and they were arguing. There was arguments going back and forth. They were taking a measurement and trying to put it into a freaking a logical statement. It's like it has nothing to do with logic. It's a measurement. There is no argument. When you have an argument, you're going back and forth, wasting time. No progress is being made. So we come in and say Earth is measured flat because it is. We've got mean sea level, not a point, right? Mean sea level, not mean sea point. And it ends everything. And that drives you crazy because you want to be the gurus. You want to be the smart guys. You want to be the ones telling people what's what. Yeah, know your game.
As it is the end of the week, I wouldn't normally ask, but is there anybody who's actually in the Discord server that did want to get a word in edgeways? If not, you're going to be waiting a few days over the weekend. Last call.
Today's Friday?
Today is Friday. Going out for a curry later.
Man, I'm going to miss my flight.
Don't be don't be south about it.
Would like to hear the Discord guys getting more involved, to tell you the truth.
In all seriousness, was there anybody who wanted to add anything from Discord? Now's your opportunity. Not that you couldn't have interrupted at any point during the live show, obviously, but some people might need an extra brave pill. No? Any more from my panel?
I don't know if I'm having a curry tonight, but I usually do on a Friday. But I did have one in the week as well, so just toying with the idea whether I should have a curry or not. But other than that, no. Hope you have a great weekend.
What about Alpha Murphy 72? He's sitting right in there. I haven't been sending him to another room. I've been allowing him to sit in there. You've been sitting in there now for 2 weeks, undisturbed. You've got nothing to say? Ask your wife permission. Maybe she'll give it to you today. She'll give you permission to take your brave pill.
What's he going to say, Neil? What can he say?
How something is not matching up on his globe. You know, the measurements that he uses. South, there's something wrong with South one deck.
He must be taking it all in. What we're putting down, what we're putting north here.
Putting south.
Sorry, south. You know, he must be. If he's there for 2 hours listening to us, he's either really interested or he's sort of weighing it all up and becoming, starting to understand, the measurements.
I guess what one deck's asking the Discord server is, are you picking north what we're putting south?
Yeah.
That's good.
Clearly not. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit me up on PayPal, Patreon, smash the super thanks, all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.